for many of us, we can have a tendency to, or a pattern where maybe there have been some of those micro things happening in our life, a subtle, 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 until it's all of a sudden right in our face. And then when it gets in our face and we really, really see it, there can sometimes be a pattern or tendency to blame ourselves, judge ourselves, shame ourselves. Why didn't I see this? How did I let it get this far? And so, if anybody's kind of feeling that way who's listening, just breathe into the knowing that, or the possibility that maybe this is exactly what you needed to experience to get to this point of realization. And what I know for sure is that life whispers to us. And when we don't hear the whispers, it turns up the volume. So those subtle things are the whispers. And then that kind of in your face is, or that landslide is the volume getting turned up. And so part of the journey of really becoming your own heroine and main character is to start to tune into the whispers of knowing. And so, Mardi, how do you tune into those whispers in your own life?
I have started, and I came to this very late in life. I've got to admit this. I started doing meditation and mindfulness
Mm,
activities before they were a thing.
yeah,
And it
yeah.
wasn't anything really elaborate. And I didn't take any special training or courses or anything like that. But I just, and for me, it's being outside in nature. I don't know if it's because that's what we
Mm,
did when I grew up. That was, we
yeah.
were very outdoors family. But I just really found that finding something that grounds me, that brings
Mm,
me joy and happiness that I can do on a daily basis, and being really mindful about that activity. And if you'd asked me this 20 years ago, I would not have used the word mindful. I'd have probably
yeah.
said focused or something like that. But
Mm,
just even going like today, like I do a daily walk. I always go outside and walk, and I don't tend to listen to anything. Sometimes I do, but a lot of times I'll just enjoy being out there in nature and
mm,
really asking myself, what is it that I need? What is sitting well with me today? Where am I in a good place today? And
mm,
what's something that is kind of giving me that underlying, I like the term you use, the
mm,
whispers,
mm,
or that, that little prickling of, I need to do something about this because it's just
mm,
not balancing with me. So I find doing things like that are really helpful. So I do a little check-in in the morning, I do a little check-in in the evening, and it's not
mm,
anything formal or but just kind of knowing that when I go to bed, there's not something sitting there that I'm thinking I really blew that, or I shouldn't have done that way, or
mm,
um, if I find something, I notice that there's a problem and I'm not addressing it, uh, I I want to know, why am I not addressing it, and just really
mm,
being comfortable in saying, why am I avoiding this, or why am I
mm.
procrastinating? What is making me put this off when I need to get it done? Sometimes it takes a while to get those answers, but I think
Yeah.
just being open and honest with yourself, and being okay with saying, yep, I've got some bad habits I need to deal with, but I'm
Mm,
going to deal with them as they come up, rather than trying to be that all seeing, all knowing, all
mm,
correct being. Just
mm.
acknowledging that those things are going to happen in life.
Yeah, and I think that all-knowing, all-seeing being is kind of a fallacy. I don't think that, certainly on this plane of existence, I don't think that that necessarily exists very often. And so when you're working with women who are navigating divorce, and maybe they have some of that shame or blame, or they've lost their confidence, what would you say to them?
My goal in working with women as a divorce coach is to help them from where they are to where they want to go. So starting out by saying, who do you want to be when you get through this process? And it's really a
Mm,
transition in life. A lot of people see
mm,
divorce as an end. It's not an end, it's a pivot at the best.
mm,
So, or transition, whichever word you like to use. Where do you want to be? Who do you want to be? What do you want to be doing? What are you enjoying? What's your passions? What have you let go of? Like all of that, really getting a clear picture of who I want to be, in 6 months, a year, 5 years, whatever time frame. And then starting to say, what are some little practices? What are those micro steps that you can take to get you
Hmm.
from point A to point B, or where,
Yeah.
what your goal is down the road. I believe that you can't go from 0 to 60. I don't think we can go from having challenges to no challenges. That's just not realistic.
Mm-hmm.
So, how can you address these things? What behaviors, what routines, what support, what resources, building a network so that that old analogy of the roadmap. If you don't know what direction you're going, how do you know when you get there? If you don't know where the end point
Mm-hmm.
is, so where do you
Yeah.
want to go? What are the little milestones you're going to look for along the way? And then what do you need to do to get there? And really helping them to plot that out, because it's
Mm-hmm.
so easy to get focused on the negotiation part of the divorce, the legal side of the divorce. That's
Mm-hmm.
the easiest part to deal with. It's
Mm-hmm.
the emotional side on the backside, that's the challenge. And how do
Mm.
we, like you say, how do we let go of that sense of blame or shame or guilt, or sometimes embarrassment? Sometimes
Yeah.
people, their family doesn't believe in divorce, or their church community doesn't believe in divorce, or they don't believe in divorce, and now they're going
Mm.
through one. So how do you overcome that? And it's really talking yourself through that, identifying that, and being comfortable in spending time exploring that for yourself. And then looking at, okay, this is reality, this is what's happening. Now, what do I do? So it's filling in all
Mm.
those little pieces. And
Mm-hmm.
I like to tell women, I want you to walk out of this and I want you to look back and say, this wasn't the best experience in my life, but I'm really proud of the way I handled it and the decisions that I made at this really difficult time. So
Mm.
that's my goal, is to set people up to have the best information, the best understanding of themselves and their strengths when they make those decisions, so that 20 years from now they're going to look back and say, I did the right thing then. And given
Yeah.
the information I had at that time, I did the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and to have that sense of peace with it. And what I love about that, Marty, is the really, and this fully aligns with the work that I do, is what's that vision of the woman that you are becoming? Who are you going to be post divorce? And I think when we are navigating difficult challenges and we're focused on the challenge and the specific outcome, like the legal bits or the logistical bits of the divorce, when we're focused on that, that becomes our end point and we don't actually have anything to move us through it. But when we're focused on or creating that image of who am I becoming, who am I going to emerge as, then we're starting to build that along the way. And in this example, the divorce or whatever the challenges that you're experiencing just becomes one of the steps along the way. It's not the end point.